Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer by way of the Canadarm2. Morgan's job will be to retrieve some of the tools from the crew lock, that's the airlock of the International Space Station, some of the critical tools that will be needed to install the pump. One of the tools in tow by Parmitano is the pistol grip tool he'll use to drive bolts to install that pump. But some of the finer tools, specially designed for the repair of the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer, being retrieved by Morgan now.
I'm trying to reel out a fair lead there. Like it's going to stay.
Luca, we're ready to start this first JoeCast. It'll be 2 minutes.
Copy, 2 minutes JoeCast.
Starting motion.
As Parmitano makes his way up to the work site of the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer, we'll be taking some questions using the hashtag AskNASA. This one from Timmy, who's asking, what is the device with the gold dishes on the space station? Right now, that's at the bottom or the top left corner of your screen, just coming out of view now. Those are the solar arrays of the Cygnus cargo vehicle. That's the Cygnus CRS-12. That vehicle was the one that delivered the pump that you're seeing now in the hands of Luca Parmitano. Those are the Ultraflex solar arrays that are used while the Cygnus is in flight to the International Space Station. One of the many cargo vehicles that visit the International Space Station, delivering critical components like the one you're seeing right now in the hands of Luca Parmitano, and some of the tools and equipment that are used for the spacewalk itself.
Morning, Ricky.
Parmitano undergoing some of the maneuvers by Jessica Meir. Jessica Meir at the hands of the robotic arm, maneuvering Luca Parmitano over to the work site.
Give us a moment while we load the next JoeCast.
Copy, 30 miles.
Just off screen from this view is Luca Parmitano. At the end of the robotic arm, you can see the latching end effector of the robotic arm, essentially the hand. That gold structure off to the side, that's the articulating portable foot restraint, the APFR. You'll hear that acronym a few times. That's the foot restraint that's currently holding Luca Parmitano. Off in the distance, that's Andrew Morgan with tools in tow on his way to the work site, the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer. From this view, you can see just off to the top there, that white structure on the very top of the truss, just before the solar rays that are pointing to the top right. 50 minutes into today's spacewalk. Everything on track so far.
So we're ready for the next JoeCast. This one's going to be 3.5 minutes.
Copy.
Starting motion.
As Parmitano makes his way to the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer worksite, on the top right you see the external pallet delivered by the HTV-8. That's the H2 transfer vehicle, a Japanese cargo vehicle that delivered lithium-ion batteries earlier this year. That pallet still has 3 lithium-ion batteries attached to it. Some of the nickel-hydrogen batteries from one of the space station's power channels are already on that pallet. The rest will be installed next year.
I'm at the work site.
Okay, Drew. Crew log bag 4 is going down the ELC, and then you can set up the bags in the APFR.
In work.
Andrew Morgan reporting that he's already at the work site. Parmitano you see at the end of the station's robotic arm. He's carrying the highlighted component of today. That's that new pump that'll give the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer the life it needs. That's a cooling pump and will allow the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer to continue to collect particles throughout the life of the station.
Good, that's position hold. 1 moment while we load the next showcast.
Copy.
Jessica Meir working at the controls of the robotic arm, currently holding and waiting that next position. In the meantime, we'll continue to answer Ask NASA questions. Keep using the hashtag AskNASA to send them in. This question comes from David. David's asking, how does the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer collect particles? A very good question. The key word there in Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer is magnetic. There's a very powerful magnet inside the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer, significantly more powerful than the magnetic field of the Earth even. And what the magnet does is as cosmic rays and other cosmic particles pass through the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer, the magnet allows those particles to spin in a certain direction, a certain speed, a certain diameter. And that spin can be calculated and measured inside the AMS as a data point, one of several billion. The Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer is essentially gathering data with this magnet, measuring that spin and what kinds of particles. Depending on the direction of the spin and the mass of the particle itself, they can detect whether it's an electron or perhaps an antimatter like positron. Both of the same mass, but if they spin in different directions, it's a data point for...
No doubt, as are we. Did you make use of that adjustable there for the fair lead as well?
a data point for more of the cosmic particles
As soon as I get the bag packed down.
that may reveal the origins of the universe. In the meantime, Parmitano is still making his way over to the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer, the white structure you see sort of at the top of the truss there, just before the solar arrays. That's the S3 truss, that's where the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer is housed. Morgan already there, getting his tool situated, getting ready for Parmitano, making sure everything's set for when he arrives. First thing to do would be to install that new pump system.
Position hold, Luca. We'll now load the next showcast.
Copy. Fairly down. Large, small, but rets are on the bags.
From this view, you can see the feet of Andrew Morgan poking out near the work site. That's the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer. You can see AMS on the blanket there. He's working his tether configuration and making sure that he's all set up, since they'll be there for the entirety of today's spacewalk. Not too far behind Luca Parmitano, you can see making his way at the end of the station's robotic arm over to the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer. The new pump in tow, that'll be the first task once they get over to the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer, installing that box. Much of the prep work has already been done on a previous spacewalk. This prep work includes installing a mechanical attachment device. This is the device that will hold the new pump system, routing some of the cables that'll be connected to the new pump system, and cutting some of the tubes that'll be connected to the new pump system.
Starting motion.
And lead yacht 12.
Okay, copy that, Drew.
Stand by, Luca, starting in 5 seconds.
Copy. All right, motion.
Great communication by the crew aboard the International Space Station. Jessica Meir inside at the controls of the station's robotic arm.
At some point.
You're hearing Jeremy Hansen, the ground IV. He's the voice here in Mission Control Houston to the spacewalking astronauts.
I think I reported that the bags were still here then. I just power cycled it.
Okay, thanks, Drew. And if you get a chance, check your mirror and see if you have a green light.
I got a green light now. Yeah, green light.
Thanks.
Parmitano continuing to make his way over. Once at the worksite, Parmitano from this angle will be positioned sort of upside down, his head pointing towards the Earth. Morgan, on the other hand, will be on the nadir side, on the bottom side of the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer, his head facing towards space. Parmitano's job will be to insert the new box into the mechanical attachment device that had been installed on the previous spacewalk. And it'll be Morgan's job to help guide Parmitano and the box into the mechanical attachment device. There's a soft dock and a bolt. That bolt fits perfectly with the mechanical attachment device and allows for a good alignment.
Position hold. We'll load the next showcast.
It sort of just holds the box in place to allow for the a stable position and allow for the data and power connections to be routed to the specified locations on the box. That'll be the next task once it's installed. Now getting a view from the helmet camera of Luca Parmitano. You can see some of the attachments for data and power from the view of Luca Parmitano's helmet camera.
All right, Luca, the next JoeCast will be 3.5 minutes.
Copy, ready.
Starting motion.
Okay, I put crew lock back 4 under the fish stringer.
Okay. And that's in the green bag then?
Yeah, fish stringer on the green bag.
Okay, copy.
True red.
A little more than an hour into today's spacewalk, starting at 5:31 a.m. Central Time. Morgan already situated at the worksite. Parmitano almost there on his way currently. Again, he'll be positioned sort of upside down from this view to allow him access to install the box that's currently in tow, that 350-pound new pump system. Parmitano almost at the worksite to install that new box. Again, throughout today's broadcast, we'll be answering questions using the hashtag AskNASA. As Parmitano makes his way to the worksite, he's practiced this plenty of times on the ground. Michelle asks, what are the procedures for practicing the spacewalks and how are the situations simulated in the interior of the space station?
And then we will be bringing you station nadir 2 meters. So Drew, that will be bringing him down toward EMS.
Okay, copy. So toward his head.
Firm.
Okay, Luca, we're already going to need a little bit of lean back. And Missy's just off to your left. And that's good lean right there, and you'll be able to see with that lean back, you'll be able to see that you're able to clear AMS. It is at about maybe half a meter. It's perfect. Perfect. Let's do that. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, Drew and Luca, we're ready for motion.
Ready for motion.
All right, starting motion.
Morgan, from his angle, providing some insight.
Copy.
The view from Parmitano blocked by the 42 by 32 by 16 inch new pump. Still in constant communication with Jessica Meir at the controls of the Canadarm 2. assisted by Christina Cook.
Okay, I would say stop motion here.
Stopping motion.
Okay, so Luca, I would hold that right there. So we're really close to AMS, and so I think the next thing that we need to do is go toward DLC, toward your back, about a half meter. Right now, you don't have the room to put the pump in front of you. We need to give you some more clearance.
So I can lean back more. So I would say let her drive to the position, then we'll go to my right,
okay.
And I'll lean back rather than drive the arm. I can lean back. See, I can do this.
Okay.
And then I can split the pump.
Okay, copy. Stand by, and I'm going to move over to AMS then.
It'll be 40 centimeters to go to the published position.
And Jessica, I think I'll take those.
Okay, copy. And Drew, are you ready as well?
We're going to continue 40 centimeters towards your head. Okay. All right, I'm ready for motion.
Starting motion.
Morgan providing that critical guidance.
Good motion, good clearance.
Working in tandem with Jessica Mira, the controls of the robotic arm, assisted by Cook inside the International Space Station, Parmitano at the end of the station's robotic arm. Right now, they're trying to get into a position to dock the new pump system to.
The big concern is just we're radiator to AMS right now, and I think you're going to need a little bit of back off, but did you want to accept this?
I think I will accept it. Jessica, I'll take 40 centimeters to my right.
Okay, copy. We need to get into the snapshot mode, so give us a minute, and then we'll get to that.
You have eyes on the map?
I do.
Okay. All right, you're going to feel me I'm going to be just giving it gentle guides here, just to keep it from bumping into a handrail, but we're looking real good.
All right, thanks.
Showed up a lot quicker today.
Okay, Luca, we are ready. We're going to give you that 40 centimeters to your right, and Drew, the clearance for you will be Luca's right shoulder to the row.
Copy. Have a good view of it.
Okay, starting motion.
And good
So
clearance.
that's 20.
Preview.
That's 40.
And GCA complete.
Okay, copy. GCA complete.
Brakes
Would you like
on.
the brakes on now as well?
Yes, please.
Okay, stand by. Brakes are on.
I do. I'm going to lean back.
Right.
And then I'm going to teach the pump down. And then I'm going to need a little bit of guidance from you.
I'm going to put a hand on it.
Yep.
Just going to feel my tugs.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
As you're working that, guys,
over.
a reminder not to impart loads from both of you into either the AMS or the ELC at the same time.
Okay, copy.
Copy.
All right. Luca, come toward your right just a touch. Right? And then advance in X. Come back this way. Come back toward your head, and back away just a touch. You get a better hand on it. Okay. All right. Let's drive in a little bit. Okay. And you're over the soft dock. Give it a push. Okay. And hold that right there. You're in the soft dock. I'm just going to do some checks and checks here. Here. Okay. All right, so the AAFs are clear of the docking envelope, and I can see 2 and 4. I think we should be able to pull it down past the vacuum case handrail there. Okay, yeah. All right, we're in soft dock, and I see everything is clear. The wires, cables look good on your end. Are you able to see around the cables?
I can't see the yes. Yeah.
Gentlemen, we're handing over here. We'll be back in about 40 seconds. You can get the PGT ready. Talk to you on the other side.
Okay.
Okay. Good work, Luke.
Good work to you too, bro. Hey.
All right.
Now experiencing a handover of some of that communication from the International Space Station. Video and audio should be regaining audio shortly. Might take a little bit longer for the video to regain. What you were seeing was Luca Parmitano at the end of the station's robotic arm. In tow, he brought the new pump system for the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer. This new pump system will be used for cooling the experiment, the cosmic particle collector on board the International Space Station. So far, this is the third spacewalk in a series of spacewalk designed for repairing this experiment, this box being the critical component of all the work that's been done so far.
Okay, that sounds good, guys. We're Bravo 7 clockwise 2 following the CAL on the PGT.
I'll be in work.
What you heard was Morgan and Parmitano working together to push that new system into place. It's been pushed into place, now working with Jeremy Hansen here in Mission Control Houston. That's the voice you're hearing from this room. He's helping the two astronauts through the next steps for programming that space drill, the pistol grip tool, that'll be used for securing the new box into place.
We were going to stage it on the Nader vacuum case handrail.
Okay, one more time. I have Bravo 7 clockwise 2.
Okay, good settings.
Correct.
And we're going to drive all 4 bolts, 4 turns initially, and give us a best effort on an accurate count for those first 4 turns in an X pattern.
Okay. Okay, starting with bolt number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, copy.
And I have low torque right now. And the count, I don't have a count a rev here. No count, still count a rev.
Yeah, but I counted you at the 7/16, so yeah. I had you at 4.
Same here. Okay, go for number 4. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is Mission Control Houston. You're hearing Luca Parmitano count the number of turns used by the space drill, making sure that that new box is secured to its position. Much of the work that follows will be making sure that the data and power cables are connected, and to use some of the fittings that are secured to the outside of the box. These are the AAFs. These are the alternate fittings used to connect the tubes that have been already cut on previous spacewalks.
1, 2, 3, 4 turns on 2.
Okay. And now,
start again.
sounds good. We're going to final torque, and we're expecting an additional 4 to 6 turns.
Okay, I need to position it.
Just watch that contact on the handrail.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had a 5 turns, but I still have a low torque. Try and get a green light.
Let's stand by. Let's see what they have to say.
Yep, no, I got a green light. It was less than a quarter of a turn, so a total of 5 1/4.
Okay, that's right in the window, 9 turns total.
And I read 23.9. 9 1/4.
Okay.
Going for number 4.
And I see the black line is flush.
4 bolts total for Parmitano to drive. 3 have already been completed. Parmitano working on that last bolt.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.5. Green light, 25.5.
Okay, copy that, Luca.
Going for number 3. Total 9.5. Going for number 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 1/4. Green light, 25.3.
Looking good over here.
And number 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 turns and 1/4. Green light, 25.6.
Okay, those are all good, Luca. You can remove the scoop, hand it back to Drew. We're handing over here in about a minute. Drew, you're looking for the cap keepers next out of crew lock bag 4.
Copy. And all 4 lines look good as well.
Okay, yeah, that seemed like a real clean install. Sounds good. Drew, that scoop, when you get it from Luca, is going in green bag fish stringer hook 1.
Okay. Hook 1.
Talk to you on the other side of this LOS in about 30 seconds.
Now in a handover of some of those tracking and data relay satellite communications that provide video and audio from the International Space Station. Should be regaining audio communications here in just a few seconds, video communications after that. So far, Parmitano and Morgan have made their way to the work site and completed the setup. They brought the tools and the new pump over to the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer. Now working to install the pump. That's the next in their task list. They've docked it to its ports and they've driven all 4 bolts that hold it into place. The installation will be sort of complete once all the cables have been routed. That includes data and power. That'll be the primary job of Luca Parmitano, who has good access from the end of the station's robotic arm. In the meantime, Andrew Morgan will be working on some of the preparations for that next step, which is to connect or swage some of the tubes. This will be the primary time constraint for the spacewalk today. Requires intricate work for tiny tubes using a swage connector.
All right, Luca, you'll take the cap keeper from Drew, and then you need to retrieve the power and data cables that you temp stowed on the ROU, and then we're going to remove the cap.
I have them I have them in reach. Yeah, in a good position for me to install them. I have the cap keeper.
Okay, all right, great. You can remove all 4 caps and call them out.
Cap keeper to Luca.
Here's the red back.
And the red back.
Okay, I'm removing J1 from the pump.
Regaining some of that communication from the International Space Station. Some of the views here you're seeing getting a little darker. International Space Station flying 263 statute miles in an orbital nighttime just over Mongolia.
And J1, he's got good pins.
Copy.
For J2.
From the helmet camera of Luca Parmitano, you can tell by the translucent numbers at the bottom right of the screen. He'll be helmet camera number 11 for today's spacewalk. He's again positioned upside down, so some of the markings there are upside down from his view. But right there in front of him are some of the connectors he'll use. The data cables and power cables have been pre-routed into position, allowing him access to just make the connections from there. Those pre-routing procedures took place during the previous spacewalk.
This one is it's T2, which goes to J2. Retrieving the cap.
Okay, that's right.
Okay, cap removed. And on this side, I have no FOD, a good EMI band. Do you want me to retrieve the other cables first before I install J2, or can I install J2?
Here, go to install J2, Luca. It goes to P2.
Please go to install P2 to P2.
That's it. Just double check the no FOD pins and EMI for us.
Yeah, one more time. On J2, I have good pins, no FOD. And on P2, I have no FOD and a good EMI band.
Okay, go to mate.
Okay, mate. Mate. And over center, lever forward. Full test.
All right, good stuff. All right, next you can do P1. Drew, I see we just got WVS back on both of you, so that's good news for us. I see you working the tool board. And then having one mini workstation red available for the plugs, should already have. And Drew, cap keepers from crew lot bag 3. It's all swaging items.
Roger, all available.
Yeah, good pins, no FOD, and good EMI band on J1 and T1.
Okay, go to mate.
And ready to connect with your girl.
Go to mate.
Work.
This is Mission Control Houston from the helmet camera of Luca Parmitano making those connections. The power and data cables were routed on a previous spacewalk to allow easy access for Parmitano to make the connections. Now that the UTTPS, the Upgraded Tracker Thermal Pump System, is the name of the new pump system that's currently installed by 4 bolts on the outside of the AMS. That'll be its home for the remainder of the life of the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer. Now just making those power and data connections. Mission Control will power it up, just make sure everything's good to go on the pump system and everything's working. And then they'll move on to the swaging of tubes. That's connecting the tubes that have been cut on a previous spacewalk. Drew Morgan standing by for preparations on that task.
IVA on the UTTPS to tether those wires.
Work.
We picked the right corner, Luca.
I sure did.
Okay, Luca, you've got everything connected. We're going to power up the box if you're good with that.
I'm very happy with that. Crossing my fingers, crossing my gloved finger and my booted toes.
The moment of truth. Luca Parmitano make those power connections. From here in Mission Control, Houston, working with the Payload Operations Center in Marshall Space Flight Center, they'll check the power of the box, make sure everything is working.
All right, that'll do. I'll take a glove. I'll take a glove check while you're at it.
Okay. I uncrossed my gloves and they are still pristine. I do see there was a little bit of discoloration from one of the captain cables, but it's gone. And other than that, they are pristine. No changes, no deltas. Good hat. Bye.
Okay, you can grab your PGT. We're going to set Alpha 4, clockwise 1.
Alpha 4, clockwise 1.
Yeah, and I miscalled that, Luca. It's counter 1. Alpha 4, counter 1.
Alpha 4, counter 1. Okay, Alpha. Counter 1.
While the pump system is still powering up, Luca Parmitano preparing that space drill for the next set of tasks.
Alpha 4, counter 1.
Okay, those are good settings. You can stand by. And you are now go to open the refill valve. This is important though, Luca. It's not to hard stop. We're only going 1 to 1 1/4 turns.
Hey, Drew.
How copy, Luca? You got that? 1 to 1 1/4 turns only?
1 to 1 1/4.
That's it. And then you'll read the turns, and we're just curious what torque value you're going to get, but it'll be a low torque.
Okay.
Okay, and stand by, Luca. So I got a good view of the black line, so I can call the stop.
Okay, so do I.
Okay, great.
Ready? Let's go. Starting.
Okay.
One turn. And the torque is 2.3.
Okay, we got it. 1 turn, 2.3. Good job. All right, you're handing that PGT over to Drew. Drew, you're putting it in the green bag. Fish stringer hook 6. And then you're ready to...
I'm going to give you...
And I have a red on it.
Okay. And I'm keeping these red, Drew, so that then I have it for the camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have it. And
Parmitano completing the use of that pistol grip tool, handing off to Andrew Morgan, standing by.
You're heading to the VSB.
Drew, do you want to give me the camera later?
I can give it to you, сейчас.
Are you ready for brakes off?
You can go brakes off, Jessica.
Okay, copy. I'm going to take brakes off, and then the first thing we'll do is get set up to take out that 40 centimeters. So I'll bring you 40 centimeters to your left.
Stand by for that.
No, we do have a ret on here for you already.
Okay, that's too many. You think you can get rid of that one?
I can. But I don't think we want to delay the. It's going to take me a second, so I'd say go ahead with the okay.
All right.
Okay.
And Jessica, you go for motion. Jessica, you copy?
And Luca, stand by. We're actually going to get set up that we're just going to not have to take out that input. We're just going to have to bring you back to Station Zenith.
Copy.
For our bookkeeping, the small ret associated with GoPro and Crew Lockback 4 is going to stay, and we're going to use because PGT ret and the integral.
Okay, copy that, Drew.
Okay, Luca, and we are ready for that motion. If you are, it'll be bringing you Station Zenith, the same as before, so a little bit less than 2 meters.
Stand by. 30 seconds.
Copy.
Jessica, you go for motion.
Okay, and Drew, you ready with the clearances as well?
Ready?
Okay, starting motion, Station Zenith.
Now lean forward, Luca. That's good.
So now that Parmitano has made those connections of power and data cables from this position, sort of upside down from the perspective of the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer, Jessica Meir now maneuvering the station's robotic arm. She'll position him essentially in the opposite direction. He'll be turned around and facing right side up, which will allow him great access to some of the tubes. That'll be the next part of the task. Those tubes have already been cut on the previous spacewalk using a rough cutter. There'll be the rough cut tubes will be clean cut to allow them to be a nice uniform shape, and then start the swaging process. The swaging devices that are the alternate fitting are currently on the box. They'll be taken off and installed one by one on the tubes that are cut. Once they're clean cut and have a nice round shape to them, and measured using some of the tools that have been specifically designed for this spacewalk, including a straightener. That's also a straightener and a measuring device. Before we get to that, Parmitano is still making his way over to the worksite. Morgan standing by with all the tools in hand.
position hold, Luca. We'll load the next showcase.
Copy.
So again, Parmitano making his way over to the new position.
Yeah, we're looking real good. No issues on that front so far.
How about time?
Also good. I'm not going to give you any bad news. You can keep asking me, but I'm just going to tell you it's good. We're looking great.
Just like you hear it.
Parmitano positioned essentially upside down with his head facing towards the Earth to give him good access to that work site, connecting those power and data cables, all complete. The new box installed onto the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer. The next more complicated set of tasks include swaging some of the tubes that have been cut on a previous spacewalk. Those tubes were rough cut and capped off and labeled so that Parmitano will know which tube goes where. There's 8 total. 6 of them will be at the work site that that he's heading to right now. That's at that vertical support beam, one of the best points of entry for accessing the tubes and connecting to the new box. The other 2 tubes will be, Parmitano will have to be repositioned to another point of the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer.
We have good insight into the new pump box. We got good power, good pressure, and we can tell the refill valve is open. So that's excellent.
All right, that warms my tips better than the glove heaters. And the gloves are good shape, no changes, no deltas, good happen.
Good news, weed shows that we can tear things apart and build them back up.
Yeah, we got a little ways to go yet, but we agree. We're looking good. How about a glove and half from you, Drew?